Today we're going to talk about something that gets car enthusiasts buzzing: engine modifications. The truth is, most of the mods out there, probably 90% of them, are a waste of money. But I've personally tested dozens of them on daily drivers, dyno runs, and even at the track, and I've narrowed it down to 13 that actually deliver results. Some of them will surprise you. One boosted a Civic's fuel economy by 11%, another gave a V6 enough punch to outrun a Mustang GT, and one was so badly done it ended up melting a turbo, costing the owner over $6,000. I'll show you the good, the bad, and even the dangerous. Let's dive right in. Performance exhaust system. Think about driving with your nose pinched shut. That's basically what your engine does with a stock exhaust. It builds up back pressure, traps heat, and wastes power. A well-designed performance exhaust system clears that restriction, letting the engine breathe freely. The result? More horsepower, smoother torque, better throttle response, and a sound that makes you smile every time you hit the gas. I've installed systems on everything from Camaros to Civics, and every time the car feels more alive. But here's the trap. Don't just buy the loudest pipe you can find. Oversized exhausts kill low-end torque and leave you with nothing but noise. Always choose mandrel bent tubing for smooth airflow, stainless steel if you can afford it, and quality welds that won't fall apart. And for your own sanity, keep the resonators, otherwise you'll get an unbearable drone on the highway. The goal here isn't noise, it's efficiency. Motor ECU remap. Your ECU, the car's computer, is designed to keep things safe, smooth, and efficient. It's tuned from the factory to prioritize emissions and comfort, not power. But with the right remap, it's like giving your engine a shot of adrenaline. Suddenly, throttle response is sharper, torque comes in harder, timing is optimized, and the whole car feels alive. I've seen stock engines go from dull to exciting after a proper tune. But here's the catch. Don't cheap out. I once saw a guy brick his ECU using a $40 USB tuner and some sketchy file he found online. The result? Burned valves, heavy knocking, and a car that barely ran. If you're going to tune, use trusted tools. HP tuners for GM, Ford, and Dodge. Cobb access port for Subarus, Mazdas, and Fords. Hondata for Hondas and Acuras. And above all, get it done by someone who knows dyno tuning. This isn't a video game. You're rewriting your car's brain, so treat it with care. Mod 11, high-flow air filter. When I first saw someone replace a stock paper air filter with a high-flow version, I laughed. I thought it was just another gimmick. But when I took the car for a spin, I had to shut my mouth. The throttle felt sharper, the idle smoothed out, and fuel economy went up slightly. It wasn't life-changing, but it was definitely noticeable. Here's why it works. Engines are just air pumps. The more freely they breathe, the better they perform. Stock filters are fine for grocery runs, but if you care about power and reliability, a high-flow filter is worth it. Brands like K&N, AEM, and S&B are tested and proven. They're reusable, washable, and last much longer than cheap paper filters. Yes, they cost more up front, but one good filter can outlast 10 disposable ones. And in the long run, it saves you money. The mistakes? Some people call it a cold air intake. It's not. It's just a filter. Another common mistake is over-oiling it, which clogs the MAF sensor and wrecks performance. Installed correctly, though, it's a simple upgrade that lays the groundwork for bigger mods down the road. Mod 10, cold air intake. This one is tricky because so many people get it wrong. A shiny eBay pipe under your hood doesn't make you a race engineer. In fact, most cheap setups actually suck in hot air from the engine bay, which reduces performance. But when done right, a cold air intake can give real gains. It pulls in cooler, denser air from outside the engine bay, which means more oxygen, stronger combustion, and more power. I once installed a proper cold air intake with a heat shield and fender scoop on a 6th-gen Camaro. Paired with a tune, it added 10-15 horsepower at the wheels. That's a serious improvement. The mistakes? bad placement of the MAF sensor, which throws off your air-fuel ratios and triggers check engine lights, or buying a generic pipe and sticking it near the exhaust manifold. Remember, cooler air equals better combustion. It's basic science. Brands like AEM, InGen, and Volant know what they're doing. Trust the tested designs. Mod 9. Lightweight pulley system. Most people chase horsepower, but they forget about freeing the horsepower they already have. Your engine wastes energy spinning heavy pulleys for the alternator, water pump, and power steering. Replacing those with lightweight or underdrive pulleys reduces that drag. You don't technically gain horsepower. You just unlock power that was being wasted. The result is an engine that revs quicker, feels snappier, and makes the car feel lighter. I installed a full pulley kit on a Nissan 350Z once, and it transformed the driving experience. Throttle response sharpened, downshifts felt stronger, and it was like the car had shed 200 pounds. But again, there are risks. Go too light on the crank pulley and you upset harmonic balance, which can destroy bearings or even crack a crankshaft. Stick with trusted brands like ATI, Fluidamper, or Unorthodox Racing. And if you drive your car daily, don't underdrive the alternator. A tiny bit of power isn't worth dim headlights at every stoplight. This is one of those sneaky mods that doesn't sound flashy, but once you feel the difference behind the wheel, you'll understand why it's so popular. If you're enjoying these so far, make sure to hit that like button. Share this with a friend who's chasing more power, and don't forget to subscribe. We've still got more mods to cover that will take your build to the next level. You won't want to miss them. 8th modification, ignition coils and spark plugs. Fuel and air on their own are useless if your ignition is weak. Think of it this way. Your spark is the match that lights the fire. Without a strong spark, your engine will stumble, misfire, and waste power. That's why upgrading coils and plugs is one of the most overlooked yet most effective performance modifications out there. It's not flashy, but the difference it makes is undeniable. A tuned GTI once came into my shop, breaking up badly at high RPMs. The owner thought the fuel system was failing, but it wasn't. I swapped in R8 coils and NGK iridium plugs, and just like that, the misfires were gone. The throttle response sharpened, idle smoothed out, and the car felt like it had just rolled off the factory floor. Here's the rule: don't get reckless with plug heat ranges unless your car is heavily modified. For stock engines, stick to OEM specs or iridium plugs for longer life. If you're boosted or tuned, dropping a heat range or two makes sense. But never, and I mean never, try to piece together a set of bargain bin coils from random sellers. I've seen customers spend weeks chasing ghost codes and, in the process, even fry their ECU. The money they saved cost them triple in the end. Stick with proven brands like NGK, Denso, MSD, and Delphi. These give you reliable cold starts, stronger sparks under load, and even a touch more efficiency. In performance, consistency is king. You've strengthened the fire. Now the next step is controlling its timing. 7th modification, performance camshaft. If you're running naturally aspirated and you're serious about mechanical power, this is where things get interesting. The camshaft is the heartbeat of your engine. It determines how long your valves open, how wide they open, and how much air and fuel the engine can breathe. Get it right, and you transform the very character of your car. A performance camshaft unlocks sharper throttle response, a broader power band, and that unmistakable lopey idle that lets everyone know your car isn't stock. Pair it with upgraded valve springs, push rods, and lifters, and you can easily see gains of 30 to 40 horsepower on the right setup. Suddenly, the engine feels alive in your hands, eager to rev, eager to pull, and sounding every bit like a machine built for speed. But here's where many novices destroy their builds. They drop in an aggressive cam without inspecting the rest of the valve train. Wrong springs, they'll collapse. Push rods not up to spec, they'll snap. Too much lift, you've just introduced your pistons to your valves, And that's an introduction you never want to make. And without a proper tune, the ECU will be lost, hunting for idle and throwing codes. The best cams come from proven builders like Texas Speed, Brian Tooley Racing, and Comp Cams. They design grinds that match different goals, whether you want streetable torque, top-end power, or all-out racing aggression. Remember, the cam isn't just a standalone part, it's the centerpiece of a balanced system. Get it right, and your engine stops sounding like a commuter car and starts sounding like a machine with purpose. Sixth modification, oil catch can. Pop the intake manifold off a direct-injected engine with 40,000 miles, and you'll likely gag at what you see. Thick, sticky carbon buildup everywhere, choking airflow like a layer of tar. That buildup is caused by crankcase blow-by, oil vapors being recycled through the intake. And the sad truth? With modern emission systems, it's worse than ever. This is why I install an oil catch can on nearly every car that passes through my shop. It's cheap, easy to fit, and it saves you headaches down the road. Even on my own daily driver, I wouldn't go without one. What it does is simple. It traps those oily vapors before they ever reach your intake valves. Cleaner air in, cleaner combustion, and an engine that breathes freely rather than choking on its own fumes. Here's a story for you. On my son's GTI, after only 6,000 miles, I cracked open the catch can. Inside was half a cup of thick black sludge. That sludge would have coated his intake valves if left unchecked. Instead, it was captured, where it belonged, outside the engine. But here's the catch. Not all cans are created equal. Those cheap, unbaffled cans you see online, they're nothing more than soda cans with fittings. They don't filter properly, and they'll let most of the oil vapor right through. Brands like Radium, JLT, and Mishimoto build cans with real internal baffling, designed to actually work. And never forget to empty the thing. Ignore it, and you'll find your intercooler drowning in oil soup. When it comes to keeping your intake clean, prevention is everything. A good catch can be long-term insurance for the life of your engine. Fifth modification, aluminum radiator. If heat is the enemy, then cooling is your shield. Engines don't usually die from running hard, they die from running hot. I've seen it too many times. Factory plastic radiators split open under stress, and within minutes, a perfectly good engine is cooked beyond repair. That's why an aluminum radiator is not a luxury, it's protection. With thicker cores, better flow, and superior heat dissipation, it keeps your engine temperatures stable even under punishing conditions. Whether you're boosted, cammed, or simply drive aggressively in summer traffic, it's one of the smartest investments you can make. I remember a turbocharged Civic that couldn't finish a pull without spiking past 215 degrees. The owner was convinced his tune was bad. I swapped the factory radiator for a Mishimoto aluminum unit, and the results were immediate. After that, the car held steady at 185 degrees, no matter how hard we pushed it. The heat soak was gone, limp mode never returned, and the driver could finally enjoy his car without fear. But don't think swapping the radiator alone is enough. Cooling is a system, not a single part. Old rubber hoses can collapse, thermostats can stick, and fans can fail. Neglect any part of the system, and you've built yourself a weak link. And here's a warning I've seen play out in real life. If you don't properly bleed the system after a radiator swap, you'll leave air pockets inside. Those air pockets can superheat, and in minutes, they'll turn your fresh build into scrap. I've watched it happen on a maiden drive, an expensive lesson in something as simple as burping coolant. An aluminum radiator, backed up with a healthy cooling system, isn't just about keeping the engine cool. It's about peace of mind. When you keep temperatures stable, you extend the life of every part of your engine. And when you're building for performance, peace of mind is just as valuable as horsepower. Let's now discuss managing the beast, particularly when boosting. Mod number 4, Boost Controller and Turbo Timer. Boost is one of the most thrilling aspects of a modified car. but it can quickly become dangerous if not handled correctly. When a turbo is under heavy load, the oil inside its bearings gets extremely hot. Shutting off the engine immediately after a hard pull cuts off oil flow and leaves that heat trapped inside, which can destroy the turbo in minutes. A turbo timer prevents this by keeping the engine running at idle for a minute or two after you switch it off. This allows the turbo to cool gradually and ensures oil continues circulating, significantly extending its lifespan. With a properly functioning turbo timer, it's possible to keep turbos running strong for well over 120,000 miles. Alongside the turbo timer, a boost controller gives you precise control over the pressure your turbo produces. Stock boost levels are safe and reliable, but a quality controller allows you to raise power safely without causing dangerous spikes or surges. Manual controllers from brands like TurboSmart provide solid, dependable control, while electronic controllers from AEM or HKS offer precise adjustments at the touch of a button. It's important to understand your engine's limits and never push the boost beyond what it can handle. On stock internals, too much boost can turn pistons into molten scrap in an instant. Respecting the limits of your build is crucial to avoiding catastrophic engine failure. Mod number 3. Upgraded fuel pump and injectors. Boosting without ensuring your engine has enough fuel is like trying to run a marathon on an empty stomach. It simply won't end well. When a turbo pushes more air into the cylinders, the engine needs additional fuel to match. If the fuel system can't keep up, the engine runs lean, which can quickly destroy pistons, valves, or even the entire engine. Upgrading to a higher capacity fuel pump and larger injectors ensures your engine never starves under pressure. I've experienced this firsthand with my WRX, which would cut fuel at 5,000 RPM until I upgraded to a Walbro 255 pump and ID 1000 injectors. After the upgrade, the car pulled cleanly to redline every time. However, bigger injectors aren't automatically better. If they're too large for your setup, idle quality suffers, air-fuel ratios become impossible to dial in, and tuning becomes a nightmare. That's why it's essential to choose the right size for your build and goals. Using reputable brands like Bosch, Injector Dynamics, Detchworks, or AEM ensures reliability. Always retune your ECU after upgrading the fuel system, because the car will not adjust itself automatically. Fuel is your safety net. Run lean even once, and you risk a total disaster. Mode number 2, performance intercooler. Even with the most aggressive turbo, hot intake air can sabotage your engine's performance. Heat decreases air density, which reduces oxygen content and weakens combustion. This often triggers the ECU to pull timing, while knock sensors react aggressively, leaving the engine feeling sluggish and underpowered. Installing a performance intercooler solves this problem by cooling the compressed air before it reaches the combustion chamber. Cooler air is denser, contains more oxygen, and creates stronger, more efficient combustion. Factory intercoolers are designed primarily for efficiency and emissions, not for extreme performance. They heat soak quickly, especially in warm weather or after a series of aggressive pulls, which robs power and consistency. Upgrading to a larger front mount or high-quality top-mount intercooler ensures intake temperatures remain steady and heat soak becomes a thing of the past. Trusted brands like Garrett, ETS, Wagner Tuning, and Mishimoto produce intercoolers that not only increase power, but also protect your engine from dangerous detonation. When choosing an intercooler, it's important to check core size, pressure drop, and design, while making sure it fits your car without restricting radiator airflow. This modification isn't just about adding power. It's about keeping the engine safe while pushing it harder. Mod number 1. Forced induction, turbocharger or supercharger. Forced induction is by far the most transformative modification you can make to an engine. Adding a turbocharger or supercharger forces more air, and therefore more fuel, into the cylinders, producing explosions that are much more powerful than what a naturally aspirated engine can achieve. With the right setup, it's common to see horsepower gains of 40% to 100% or more. Turbos are highly efficient, generating massive top-end power once they spool, though they can suffer from lag at lower RPMs. Superchargers, on the other hand, provide immediate throttle response with a smooth, linear power curve, making them ideal for drivers who want instant reaction without waiting for spool. Both systems can drastically change the driving experience, but they require supporting upgrades. Upgraded fuel systems, intercoolers, and strong internals are necessary for high-boost applications, and professional ECU tuning is essential to bring everything together safely. Forced induction is not a budget mod, it's an investment in performance. Once you start boosting, it's nearly impossible to go back to naturally aspirated driving.